Found a fish!
Hi, I'm Brad Knowles, producer of Friday Night Flies, hosted by Scott LeBoldus and Scotty Holmes. Enjoy the show. We live? Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It's Brad Knowles here, Friday Night Flies, also the proud owner of Pemberton Fish Finder. One thing you'll notice a little different about me tonight is I'm wearing a hat that's probably 3 sizes too small for my big head. My head is so big it's got its own weather system.
Size planet.
It's size planet. And this hat right here, I'm very proud to wear today. This is something we were leading to last week or the week before. We said there was something big in the makings. This is big. Mustad is, in my opinion, the best manufacturer of hooks on the planet Earth. They've got a great range of all the different hooks for saltwater, freshwater, you name it, they make it. And we just happen to be in love with their fly hooks, and we're very happy to be working with them. So from now on, you will see nothing but Mustad hooks on our website and with our professional tires. And I'm looking for them. Actually, there. You want to pass me the hooks? These are the hooks I'm going to be using today. And as you guys are looking down below, you're seeing this lovely pattern. It's eerily similar to one that we've worked on in the past, called the Moto Minnow. And being that we're using Mylar, and I've been on a bit of a Mylar trip the last little couple weeks here, as you guys have seen the Pemby Mylar Minnow and yada yada yada. But there's that beautiful Mylar on the bottom there, you can see it. And then we put a mallard flank over top of it, blue pearl flash in the tail, and a little bit of bleeding gills. Make it look crippled out there, ladies and gentlemen, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a Big Mac that's crippled, something real easy to get their hands or mouth on. So tonight we're going to be using, I'm going to tie it in a size 4, and that's it. The Mustad. You can have a quick look at, can you see that in the little bit up there? Okay, the Mustad. This one is the R75. It's a 79580, 2 times extra heavy, 5 extra long, in a size 4. Beefy streamers, you want these chunky things to get down, because it is breakfast and dinner all in one meal. Tasty. So we're gonna go down to camera 4. Okay. We got the new guy on the. It's Friday night. You got that right. And hopefully you guys can hear me now, because the guy in the background, we're busy here getting things done. We're starting off, you guys probably missed what I was saying earlier, but we're starting off with an R75, 2 times extra heavy, 5 times in length. Make it juicy, make it big. Why have just lunch when you can have lunch, breakfast, and dinner all in one meal? You know what I'm saying. Tasty. So we're going to start this off right with a little bit of Solares. And when you're tying like we do, we get them in 4-ounce bottles, because I hate running out. And we're just going to take a little dab. I'm going to dab it right in the inside of this cone, because you'll see here in about 2 seconds of why we do that. Just to keep this guy in place when you're putting the Mylar over top. The Mylar. Okay, just a dab will do. And you're going to see how quick this stuff cures with this UV light. So you want to try and get that hook centered, or the cone as centered as you can, because it's going to affect how it sits later. Bingo, bango. Can you check audio for me there, Ethan?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Because right now I feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, so we got that cone head in place. You're probably wondering, why in the heck are we putting the cone head on first? Well, because we're working with Mylar. Mylar piping. And the Mylar piping has to go over top of that cone for it to work properly. What we got now is Friday Night Flies on Facebook. Yet. So we're just doing a quick audio check to make sure everybody's there. If you go over to my computer, to the supercomputer there, Ethan, you'll be able to interact with everybody.
Real good.
So all I'm doing here, ladies and gentlemen, is just putting a little bit of thread base down on here because there's a lot of grit going down. We got, we're going to start off with a little bit of white marabou. Get a chunk of this stuff out. Stuff's still relatively inexpensive. And all I'm going to do here is just try and line up a few of my tips here. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties when we first started today, but that's no big deal. We got it worked out. So this one's pretty chunky. Is everybody telling you the same thing, that there was no... Oh, you guys are probably loving this hat. That's 10 sizes too small for my big head. Anyhow, we're getting this tips all lined up because you want it to look pretty. Get them all lined up, and then we're going to chunk it off the back. You're going to hang it off the back about 1 inch. So we're not just serving them breakfast. It's an all-day brunch buffet. Lock that down. So instead of cutting this stuff off, what I've been doing is wrapping it up the shank to bulk the body up a little bit, but don't go right to the cone. Don't go right to the cone. You don't want to go to the cone because we're going to pile a bunch of other stuff in there. So I'm just going to wrap up here on top of this stuff just to lock it into place. Last thing you want is this stuff all moving around on you. Then we're going to cut this little bit of excess off. Come on, get rid of it. Okay. At that point, peel it back. I mean, you guys are probably looking at this going, wow, that actually looks pretty fishy just the way it is. But it's about to get a whole lot better. Okay, the one thing about white, when it comes to marabou, is, can you see that, cameraman?
Yes, I can.
You see how UV that is?
Like a little bit.
What, camera 4? Are we on camera 3 or camera 4? What are we at?
We're good.
Camera 4?
Really
You're going to see how bright that is. Okay? When we put Mylar over top of that, it shows through. And suddenly you've got UV Mylar, which they don't make yet. So we're putting the UV twist on this pattern that nobody else is going to have yet. But I'm sure there's going to be a whole whack of people doing the same thing here real soon. So now we've got this fancy pants stuff called Blue Pearl. Actually, what is the actual packaging is right there. It's by Superfly. You don't want to go too crazy. Super Flash, I think it's called?
Yeah. Super
Flash in Blue Pearl. If you guys are coming around, I know everybody comes by and checks it out. What's going on? Is everybody...
Oh, no, everything's
working?
all good.
Okay, buddy. We got the new guy on the camera back there. So this stuff is super flashy. And all you're going to do is peel this stuff back a bit, double in length. So cut a nice little chunk because you're going to fold it over, tie it in twice. Man, this place is busy today. People everywhere. Okay, so you want to just make it just a smidgen longer than the marabou. Wrap around a couple times, and then take this guy across like so. Wrap it, peel her straight back. You want your flash right along the back side here, right along the edges. At that point, just a smidgen longer than your marabou. Chop, chop, and throw away the rest, or you can keep it and tie it into something else. Okay, so now comes the fun part. We got this super weave Mylar piping, which is Mylar tubing in other brands, but this is Superfly's. It's a super weave Mylar piping. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Perfect. And this one's pearl. And I like pearl because, just like I said earlier, that we're putting a UV twist to this by putting a UV color underneath it. Once we take this guy, you cut it off to length. You want to cut it pretty well, cut it to length from the back of your tail to the head of your fly. So if you look there, I've done just that, maybe a little bit longer, because you're going to just pull it back into the tail just a little bit. You'll see why here in a second. Push the top, pull it out the bottom, get rid of this stuff, Slide it over. Now you're going to see why we put that little drop of UV cure in there, so that the bead's not moving when we do this. Right up and over the cone. Just touch it into the tail. At that point, pinch with your fingers. Up and over the whole thing. Right up over the whole thing. Couple wraps around. Oh, look at that. You now got Mylar tubing locked down. And you want to wrap this a few times because you don't want it moving on you. And that's the biggest thing I found with Mylar tubing, is that if you don't have it locked down, when a fish grabs this, it pulls all the fibers out. So make sure that's locked down real good. And what you're going to do is just throw a half hitch, couple loops, make it big, up and over everything till you get back over top. Slide it down, lock it down. You can whip finish it, but unless you've got, like, I've got just a small whip finishing tool. If you got like the big ass jumbo one, then you're going to be laughing. You'll be able to reach into those tight places. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to, if you've got the ultra thin, the bone dry, which I left at home today, works better for this. So we're going to go stay with the thin. And all you're going to do is just put a dab on here, and all you're going to do is work that right around all the threads, because you don't want this thing letting go. You can use head cement or whichever, whatever you got. We always recommend the UV cures just for this reason. Oh, look at that. You're starting to see that UV cure banging through.
It's like glowing on this. Like, it's just all UV.
It's UV, baby. So from a distance, because you guys are, you can see that shining through. Can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Fish seeing UV, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason we do it, and that's it right there. So now that we got the back nice and secure, banging, you got a little tough of stuff on the bottom. All I do is just cut that away, okay? And then it doesn't get in the way of your fly, the hook, doesn't get all twisted up. Just get rid of that tiny little bit of stuff that tucks in between the gap here. Now you start back with your white thread. You see the cone, just go back in behind it, not too much, about 1/8 of an inch. Loose wrap, pull it tight. Do not let go of the tag that's in your other hand, your left hand. At that point, get a nice little dam in there. Now you can cut this little tag off. If you let go of this tag, when you're wrapping it around, what'll happen is this whole Mylar tube is going to spin on the hook, and it's going to look freaky real quick.
And it's not going to
hold up. And it's not going to hold up. So then at that point, I'm just going around the cone head, and I'm just cutting a little bit of that stuff away so that it all tucks away nice in behind the cone here. Looking pretty. This thing's coming together nicely, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
When you sent me this,
you went home and you started tying. You did. Did you tie one yourself?
Yep.
Buddy, we're going to fish that tonight. I'm telling you right now, these fish have no chance.
In fact,
okay.
That's why I was late.
So for this reason, when you're picking your Mylar or your mallard flank, you want to look for some nice big fat juicy stuff. They actually, Superfly has got some lighter stuff you'll have to pick through your bag, but there's I've got a whole bunch of new stuff, the Select, which is large feathers. They're all going to be like big like this. There's a dozen of them. Price is around $4.50 or something like that. It hasn't shown up, but it'll be here in the next day or two. And then you'll be able to tie them right up into like 1/0, big juicy bait fish patterns. I mean, these, anywhere you got fish that eat other fish, this is going to be one of those patterns that you're going to want in your fly arsenal. So you're going to take your pattern, this mallard flank, not worry too much about how it's rolling on there. You can palmer it back a little bit, but I always found the more chunky that you put it on, the better it looks as an end product. And if it starts getting a lot of fibers and stuff getting trapped, at that point what I'll do is I'll grab a chunk of like Velcro strip that we've made, kids will make, and just pull a little bit of that out. Okay, you don't want to get too trapped, but I found if you do let it get trapped, then it really starts to get buggy, and you kind of want it going every which way but Sunday, if you know what I'm saying. So at that point, get in behind that big chunky stem. When you're dealing with mallard flank and you get into the long fibers at the end of the feather, it comes at a bit of a cost, and that is a chunky stalk on the feather. Don't cut it too short until you have everything locked down. At this point, peel it all back. Get in front of that big chunky stalk. Make sure it's following the contour of the fly. The more you go back on it, the tighter this is going to get on it. But I found that if you give it a little bit of room to breathe, it kind of finds its own little place, and that's usually the best place. If you force it to go somewhere, it'll fight the water, it'll try and roll. At this point, let's see if your side looks as good as mine. You know you're tying them good when that happens. So at that point, we're just going to make sure that this is locked down really nice, and then I'm going to go to my little dubbing box provided by Chinook Wind Outfitters.
Woo.
This little box, very handy. It's got all my fish catching colors, proven fish catching colors right here, Fish Finder approved. So I'm going to dig into the red, because what I want to do is create a bleeding gill, make this thing look crippled. And it's no different than when I go into the Big Mac store there at McDonald's. I'm looking for the biggest, fattest, juiciest burger around. And put a little extra mayo on it, if you know what I'm saying, because this beard looks great when there's a little extra mayo in it. So at that point, we're just tucking it in, filling in behind the bead, pulling, wrapping, making it look pretty, just like that. Okay, at that point, what I'm going to do, take my whip finisher. Once you've tied a few of these, you can really pound them off, and they look good. I haven't had a chance to tie them in any other colors yet, but I assure you, I'm going to be tying them in pink. I'm going to be tying them in wood duck. See, this is your original standard. What do they call it? The natural wood duck, or natural mallard flank. But the other colors that I like are the wood duck mallard flank, and also the pink, which I've got both in stock right now. We'll get to that another point.
Is the pink with it? The
pink is gonna be hot. So you're thinking this is probably finished, but it isn't. Take your Velcro strip one more time, and all I'm gonna do is just pull a little bit of that bleeding gills out into the head of this fly.
Be careful not to hit the tubing, or what?
No, you don't have to worry about the tubing too much, because as long as you've locked down both ends, this tubing is actually pretty tough.
Oh, yeah.
It's only starts to pull if you haven't locked down both ends. So make sure you got both ends anchored. And I know there's something that one other person came in here that bought, and he's like, hey, how do you keep your Mylar together? Biggest way to keep Mylar together is make sure both ends are locked down nice and tight.
I even use my wire scissors on it because it's so tough. I'm like, I'm not using my nice
it's
ones.
tough. So I'm going to just give you guys a quick shot of what that looks like. You can see the UV and the ice dub. I don't know, that's probably too bright for everybody.
It's like glowing.
So that man, it's hard to see even with I might have to put my sunglasses on. But you can see how bright that is. From a distance, it looks fantastic to all fish. So there it is, my pattern. And you know what? Since I don't have Mustad on our outro yet, because it's they're really new, we had a couple ladies come in and tell us how much they like Mustad. So if you could play number 7, scene number 7, this was the big package.
Okay, ready?
Mustad makes the best hooks.
Alright, so as you can see, Mustad hooks are way better looking when you've got a couple beautiful women enjoying them. But that entire box full of hooks that was dumped on their heads is what we're going to be tying with this year, and we're really excited. We'd like to thank Mustad. We'd also like to thank all of our other sponsors. If we can roll through, pay attention, guys. These are great companies, and we support them, and we'd like you to support them as well. So play them through. Scene 6.
Friday Night Flies would like to thank the following sponsors: Superfly, Solarez, Chinook Wind Outfitters, Dr. Slick, Griffin, Stonefoe,